listener production.
The creators of this podcast would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which it is recorded. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people are the first storytellers of this land. We pay respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, as well as any Indigenous people who may be listening today.
Everyone relax, this is TOFOP. I'm Charlie Clausen.
I'm Wil Anderson. Hello, and thank you for watching. Charlie, you sound a little...
Congested?
Yeah. What's going on? Big night on the cocaine, big night on the Colombian marching powder.
I wish.
Like reenacting some sort of Scarface operation, party in the hills.
I miss the days when the only reason I was sick was because I'd had a big night. Now when I'm sick, I'm legitimately, my body's falling apart.
Yeah.
My daughter's giving me a loogie. This is all...
What's children, isn't it? Children are germ factories.
Germ factories. And Gem's away at the moment, so I have been getting 100% exposure to this irradiated flu rod that is my daughter.
I mean, do you think that matters?
Yes.
Like, do you think it would be any different if it was, like, if Gem was around? And
100%. In terms of like...
Oh, really?
Well, statistically, I'm with her all the time.
Yeah, but if she's sick... Like if she's full of germs, if she's riddled with disease, as you've
like
often said that your child is.
Yeah.
Just building up that natural immunity.
Yeah, that's right. I'm in the Northern Rivers now.
She has a pet pigeon that she wears on her shoulder.
Plenty of no vaccines, plenty of bone broth. That's what I'm giving her. A lamp that has special light in it. She's fine. I just think in terms of, because I actually got the flu shot earlier this year and I've been boosted for COVID. I'm jabbed up, brother. I've bought into Big Pharma and the government's fucking scam, the scamdemic.
You're one of very few, it turns out, from statistics.
Oh, really?
People are not taking advantage of their boosters. Even though they are free from the government, I would recommend everybody. COVID is still a thing, and if you want to continue life where it's not a thing, without disastrous consequences either for yourself or other people, get your top up.
Yeah,
like it's free.
It's easy.
They offer it. It's free. It's easy. You're helping people, and look, there's still different variants, and if we're just going to get on with things, which is what we're doing, right?
We tried.
Like, this is now.
That's what we're doing.
We tried the other thing. Well, the other thing was kind of necessary for a while. Yeah. And now we've decided on the general calculus that we make for society in general, which is, car accidents kill people all the time. But we've just made a judgment as society that our capacity and need to drive places overwhelms the fact that occasionally some people, that's just like part of the risk that we're willing to accept. And we put all these measures in place to try to get that number as low as possible. But at the moment, it feels a little like we're all driving 120 and we're like, fuck it. Only, maybe I won't wear a seatbelt today. There's no need to, if there are things available that can minimize the risk, it is a good idea to take advantage of those.
I was going to say live fast, die young, but I am not young.
No. Neither of us are young.
Die at a slightly earlier point.
We lived a little fast. And then we were like, oh, my God, this is too fast.
How do I get off this ride?
How do we slow down a little?
So I dropped Iona at daycare. She woke up a bit sniffly, coughing and sneezing. And
so you thought I better get her around some other children.
Oh, here's the thing, though. Look, hats off to single parents out there. I have zero idea how anyone is a single parent, how you manage to get work done and child rearing, because in my book, it's one or the other. You look after the kid or your work, and I had to get work done, and so
It's amazing that for so long, and still probably in a lot of cases, people don't consider raising a child to be work when it is absolutely 100%
best job in the world,
most work.
Best job in the world that gives you diseases every second week.
Mate, riddles you with your disease constantly. Essentially you're just a butler, a diseased butler.
Yeah, that's right.
That's and you have to do it for free. It's one of those things that it's always been ridiculous,
and
but now it's
in
so
my
ridiculous.
instance, Like, I'm the diseased butler who's working for free, and I don't even get, like, I'm not like Alfred to her Bruce Wayne where I'm getting kudos and I couldn't have done it without you. It's like, you know what? You're not quite as good as Mum. When Mum gets back, that's the real Batman. Like, you're Bruce Wayne. She's Batman.
Well, here's what I would say. No, because you're Alfred. Right, you're the butler.
That's how it's got inside my head. The flu's got in my brain, Will.
No, you're Alfred. But the problem is that you're not getting the credit from Bruce Wayne, no doubt. Right?
How annoying
Bruce
would it
Wayne
be?
is occasionally taking you for granted.
Oh, all the time. Like if you were Alfred and Bruce, like you've had to sew him up again, you had to coordinate to get the Batmobile at a pickup point, and he never gives you any credit. He's always saying, gee, that Robin, I couldn't do it without Robin. What a good kid that is. I love that Robin. Like after a while, Alfred would be like, well, fuck this. What am I doing?
Yeah. Or Commissioner Gordon, probably. It'd be like, Gordon, he's my real man, behind the scenes.
Let's catch up for a drink with Gordon. Never invites Alfred.
Yeah. Oh, you're out with Gordon again, I heard.
I got 2 tickets to see Taylor Swift. I can only think of one person I want to take. My loyal friend.
Actually, I got an extra ticket, so I'm taking Lucius Fox. I think that you're right. And also, I assume that Alfred is getting paid well, right?
Well, lives in the house for free, I assume, for a start.
Yeah, but that's not just enough. You can't just say to somebody you can live in your workplace and that's a reward.
What is the mythology? He was Thomas Wayne's butler originally, and so he swore some kind of oath, right, to always look after his son no matter how crazy the son grew up to be.
But that's not like a legally binding contract.
No, but a man has to have a code, Will. And Alfred has his code, a butler code.
Yeah. The butler code.
I mean, I'm sure that I never saw one episode of Pennyworth, but I'm sure the writer's room would have been full with discussions like that. What is the butler's code?
I'm going to Google the butler's code Pennyworth and see if it comes up.
Look, I'm just going to guess, and I have not seen one episode, but I'm going to suggest that Pennyworth is actually about a secret society of butlers. They're all like martial artists and like field medics and scientists and whatever, and they align themselves with rich people to just give them another boost up in life because being born a billionaire isn't enough of an advantage.
Okay, so let's see if we can. Here we go. Here's an article that is called Pennyworth, the TV show about, because I've never seen a moment of this either, which is just what a world we live in. And this just speaks to the absolute, you can't always get what you want because sometimes what you want is not good for you. And then you actually eventually don't even like or see this. Like in the old days, if you'd said to me there was going to be a spin-off series about Batman's butler and how Alfred came to be, I'd be like, fucking amazing. This sounds like the greatest TV show that has ever been made. I've always spoken about in the early days of this podcast. This is how much things have changed while we were doing this podcast. I used to crave for multiverse stories and, alternate universes, extended universes. And now it turns out when I got what I wanted, Charlie, it wasn't what I wanted at all because I haven't looked at Pennyworth, but this is from GQ and it's from, it's October 2022. So reasonable, close enough. And the headline is Pennyworth. The TV show about Batman's butler is a prequel worth your time.
GQ.
For many years, DC lagged far behind Marvel in the world of comic book to screen adaptations. Marvel attracted bigger names, put out more films, had a high hit rate, and boasted...
Hang on, that is complete bullshit. They did not attract bigger names at all. If anything, Chris Hemsworth is an unknown when they cast him. Chris Pratt was like a sitcom actor. That is the laziest journalism. Justice League was cast with an Oscar winner. Gal Gadot, sure, maybe she's an unknown, but everyone else was pretty well established. Dumb journalism. One strike from me.
Okay, good. I like this. You can judge this on the way through. Okay. I like that. This is more fun. It gives me. I was like, because I don't know where this is going, but you can. Now that you can judge from the sidelines, you can be guy.
Okay.
Marvel attracted bigger names, put out more films. That's got to be true, though, right?
Yep.
Had a high hit rate. And boasted less problematic fans.
Okay. I see. I guess that's kind of identifying the restore the Snyder Cut bros. I think that is a specific reference to those guys. I mean, I don't know. I feel like fandom is quite problematic across the board these days. Like, fandom has become weird now. You know, like you look at sort of the Rick and Morty sort of feedback, video games, like it's all a cesspool.
It is weird how sometimes the fans of something can spoil the show for you, because I certainly feel that a bit with Rick and Morty. Like, I really like Rick and Morty, and I think it's a funny TV show, but the fans and some of the behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, the creator of the show potentially being a monster.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they're just, you know, at that point where you go, oh, this feels too messy now. Like, I can't even really be bothered going into why or the truth of, and I don't need to hear about what, you know, when you just suddenly go,
I don't love it that much.
I don't love it enough that I need to like be reading a blog that justifies why I'm okay to still love it or whatever. So, all right, I'm going to skip over this general fiff and faff around the Marvel and DC stuff because it goes on for quite a while. Let's just get to, all right, here we go. I'm going to skip down.
Just before you get to that, what do you reckon of the naming of the show Pennyworth instead of Alfred?
Terrible.
Yeah. I agree.
Part of the reason that it did not work, as far as I'm concerned, even though
the
I'm
most
reading
recognizable
its third series.
Alfred in popular culture, and you don't use the name. You go to the,
who knows?
The more obscure surname.
Literally, who knows his name is Pennyworth?
Yeah.
Right? It sounds like a show you wouldn't like.
Yeah. It sounds like a show about, like, it's set in the Midlands of England. It's a detective.
Yeah.
You know, occasionally a sheep gets kidnapped.
That's right. Marjorie Pennyworth. She, the local vet, also detective. Vet detective. Marjorie Pennyworth, vet detective. Actually, that's not a bad show. For sure. Side note, yet again, I have been telling you about the fact that I have been reading more because, Charlie, I don't know if you know this about me, but I'm not on social media anymore.
No, you should make that the basis of your entire personality.
So what I've been doing instead is reading books.
Okay,
and
I remember them.
I have been reading I needed to read. I wanted I've been replacing television with books a bit, is what I've noticed as well. In that, I'm looking for some things that are a bit more like episodic TV crime dramas, but in a book form. So I've started reading. Never read them before.
Law and Order.
Yeah, finally, just resorted it down to what I want, the words on the written page. I've programmed ChatGPT to make me specific episodes of Law and Order that I can just read in random. No, the reason that I thought about this in relation to you, and I didn't know if you had read these books or not, the books by Ian Rankin, the Detective Rebus, Inspector Rebus. They're he's a cop. He's a cop who's sort of doesn't play by the rules and, it's no good at life. But it's set in Edinburgh.
Okay.
And he's a very famous Scottish, he's one of the highest selling authors of all time. And he just does these little, local Edinburgh crime dramas. So they're always set around with.
So this is a successful author and father of Adelaide Crow, Isaac Rankin, one of the most exciting small forwards. Wow. Yeah. What a successful life.
I know, right? Anyway, sorry. It was the Scottish link, but here we go. As the series begins, it's the early 60s or a version of it. Pennyworth's timeline branches off from human history as we know it's Pennyworth.
Yeah, it's not a penny's worth. It's a Pennyworth's.
You're not going to get your penny's worth. It's not like Grand Prix. Pennyworth's because I keep saying it like it's two words. Pennyworth.
Yeah, Pennyworth.
But it's Pennyworth's timeline. But it's so hard to say even. This is why it's a bad name for the show.
Yeah, you're right. The consonants cluster together in penny and then it stretches out with a vowel in worth. Pennyworth.
Yeah. Should we write an article about Pennyworth a debut? Let's not do it. If they called it Alfred, okay. Somewhere around the middle of the last century, Alfie Pennyworth.
Alfie?
Jack Bat.
Oh, they call him Alfie. Oh, fuck, I hate this show so much. Oh, God. Unless it's played by a de-aged Michael Caine and he's like, hello, I'm Alfie from both the movie Alfie and also the TV show Pennyworth.
Okay, now that would be fun. Alfie Pennyworth, Jack Bannon, has returned from serving in the British Secret Air Service. So he's working at a nightclub to pay the bills.
Selling drugs.
Until he and two of his SAS buddies can launch their own private security company. Because you know what? Here's the thing. I've just read a couple of books about a guy called Ben Robert-Smith, and they'll tell you there's nothing wrong with a couple of ex-SAS buddies getting back together to launch their own private security companies. That's a great recipe for a fun show. Then he happens to meet Thomas Wayne, son of wealthy American industrialists, and Alfie's life changes forever. The show's first season is more political than we're used to seeing in stories like this. Yeah, boo again.
I hate this so much.
Yeah. Alfie's alternative Britain leans fairly authoritarian Britain of the mid-century.
God, so it's like V for Vendetta, like a prequel to V for Vendetta or some shit like that.
Executions of convicts are not just performed in public, but are televised. Prisoners are still being held in the Tower of London, but an overtly fascist organisation is gaining power. Okay, yeah, all right. This sounds terrible.
How many seasons did they get, does it say?
Well, this is for the third season, this article that's trying to tell you that it's good. So I'm going to get you to try and guess the name. So it's of the fascist organisation that has taken power in the UK.
So is it like a party, like a Tory type?
So it's
party?
like you're right in the way of like the V for Vendetta style.
Yeah.
Like
it's a fascist organisation,
and it sounds like a fascist organisation.
Like Hydra.
I'll give you one. Yeah. Okay. So it's two words. Yep. One of them is something you could be a prisoner in or of. And the other one is a bird, an ominous bird.
Okay, so society, prisoner of society, prisoner in society?
Yeah, I thought that one was going to be
too obvious.
Yes, society. Yeah. So something society.
And some kind of bird. Society owl. Society.
Society is second, it's an ominous bird society.
Owl society. Isn't the owl the Court of Owls? Isn't that the Batman? There's like a secret society.
Well, I guess that might make sense, but it's not that.
Oh no! Like probably the most popular modern storyline in Batman folklore, the Court of Owls. It's not.
But think
Raven Society.
Yes, correct. The Raven Society.
So on the
because
nose.
Of course,
everything about this is so on the nose.
You need a big black, flying thing for your show about Batman, but you can't have Batman in it for the timeline. So Ravens, that'll do. That's pretty close. Society. Yeah. So the Raven Society, unless it's the 80s and the 90s in London. And there's
I think
Raven
part of the reason we lived too fast and almost died young was because of the Raving Society.
Society is gaining power. And
that will make sense with the Raving Society.
And Thomas has been charged by the CIA with trying to disrupt their activities.
Hang on. So are we in London or are we in, what's the CIA? They've got no jurisdiction in the UK. Oh, is he back in America now?
No, I think that the CIA are maybe in London trying to get him, see what's going on with the Raven Society.
Sort of men in blacking it. They're just sort of G-men who turn up at whatever, like any political rally, and they're just like, hey, don't do that. Is that how they operate, the CIA?
Here we go. Oh, well, we're getting on to butlers. Okay. When Alfie's father, Arthur.
Played by the guy who played Arthur in the sitcom Arthur.
Dudley Moore.
No, the TV show. It's like On a Minder I'm thinking of. His name was Arthur.
Oh, yeah. Okay, right. Dennis someone. Yeah. He wrote the theme song as well to Minder, didn't he? And didn't he sing it?
So entertaining for an audience of two people. No one gets any of these references.
Didn't Dennis Waterman write I think is what his name was, write the theme from Minder, here we go. Minder, let's see if that comes. As well as starring as Terry McCann in Minder, Waterman sang the theme song. Okay. I Could Be So Good For You.
I could be so good for you. Even if you want me to.
It was written by his then wife, Patricia, actually. So he didn't write it. All right. Anyway, we're going deep on this one. So when Alfie's father, Arthur, isn't haranguing Alfie about becoming a butler like himself.
Oh, my God.
So he's an SAS, British SAS, but his dad just wants him to be a butler. Arthur
We come from a proud line of butlers, Alfie, and you too shall be a butler. You shall be mopping up shit for rich people for the rest of your life. It's an honourable profession.
I mean, the fact that you would rather join the SAS.
Put your life in danger.
Arthur secretly offers himself a terrorist mission. What? Arthur secretly offers himself out for terrorist missions.
Right. Mercenary work.
Intended to destabilize the government.
As in Raven Society. He's like, I will go out and I will be a terrorist for the Raven Society.
By the second season, full-blown civil war rages. Oh, God. So it's a real alternative universe.
Yeah, it's the man in the glass tower, whatever that, if the Nazis won kind of thing.
Full-blown civil war rages as the Democratic majority, assisted by the Queen, desperately fights to regain control of London. As if all that wasn't hassle enough, Alfie decides to invite even more trouble by getting intimately involved with Melanie, wife to Gully, Alfie's old SAS captain.
Who gives a shit who any of these people are? Where's Batman?
Boo!
Where's the Joker? Where's Batman? I mean, you know what, Will? We should pitch a show set in the Batman universe that has none of the things that make the Batman universe interesting.
I mean, okay. So though the affair is a risky choice for the obvious reasons and some unexpected ones later on, it marks a hallmark of his character and another differentiator from the MCU. Alfie fucks.
What? Is that in the article?
Yes.
Alfie fucks. It's just a headline.
Alfie fucks.
Alfie fucks, full stop.
The second season is where the show's sci-fi elements start ramping. Oh, God.
This is the writers desperate. I mean, let's defend the writers here. Like, they're getting paid nothing.
Yeah.
Like, they're getting no residuals. They just need to keep this job. So they're desperately trying to keep this show on the rails.
I mean, there might be rails involved. And the truth is that this might be brilliant, right?
Yep.
Because it either sounds so all over the shop that it would be terrible, or so all over the shop that maybe that's what's great about it, that it doesn't give a fuck. Like Alfie fucks, they don't give a fuck. It turns out a chemical weapon developed to kill millions of people at a time will have an entirely unexpected side effect if it ends up just inside one person. When the third series begins 5 years later, oh, fucking hell. When the third series begins, set 5 years later, PWEs, people with enhancements, are popping up enough that a government agency needs to be created to deal with them.
Is this still the 60s?
It's 5 years later.
So 1965. So the Beatles. The Beatles were all AI, what are they, like cybernetically enhanced.
No, they're PWEs. It's a completely different thing to mutants or people with superpowers. They're PWEs. And then there's a secret society that Alfie gets involved in to fucking...
People with enhancements.
Oh, my God.
They couldn't even come up with a cool sort of like nickname or moniker for the enhanced people. PWEs, poor.
Fuck me.
Are we done with this shit?
Yes,
Okay,
I think so.
I want to bring you back, Will, to a storyline that occupied many episodes of TOFOP last year, because we're heading into spring, and with spring comes animals, and with animals comes magpies, and I'm getting swooped again. Now, you're not on social media, is that right?
I'm not. I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. So I have decided to document my attacks because I think, you talk about it and people sort of laugh and stuff, but people don't really realize like how psychotic this magpie is. So I wanted to share with you today.
Do they need to realize? Why do they need to realize? You mean as like a public safety warning?
Public safety warning, but also just to give people some
you need to be heard.
Context about what I'm dealing with.
God.
So
what am I about to
I'm going to share this video with you, Will, and you can sort of see
You're basically forcing social media onto me.
I am forcing social media.
Even though you know that I am not like on social media. You can't let me live in my little safe world. You now have to bring
this is not like
social media to me.
This is not like an influencer post. This is just real. This is just a video.
Yeah, well, how do I know?
What do you mean?
Like maybe you're sponsored by Big Magpie or something.
Big Magpie. Well, here's what I'll say, okay? So last year it was a new situation for me and I was getting very like stressed out, and I even started taking alternate routes to the gym because I'm like, this magpie is freaking me the fuck out. And then we sort of did a bit of research on it. It's like, they recognize your face and it's the males and they're protecting their nesting area or blah, 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 blah. And we had a lot of discussions about whether I can retaliate or not. And we decided that would be wrong for me to take a tennis racket with me on my ride to the gym and smacking magpies. And I actually think it's illegal. I think that they're a protected species even. So I decided to change my attitude towards this magpie to, as someone who was raised Catholic, to turn the other cheek, so to speak. Like, I understand the magpie is just doing the magpie thing. And I was like, rather than get so agitated and freaked out by this, what if I just don't react? I'm wearing a helmet. I'm well protected. This thing's swooping at me and pecking away, but it's really, all it is an inconvenience more than like a life-threatening situation. Sure, there's like trucks barreling past me on the freeway that I'm riding along, which, but I feel safe enough that I can hold my phone up to film this video while it's happening. But I think what I've done, Will, is I've, to use a confusing metaphor, poked the bear. Because by not reacting, the magpie attacks have gotten worse. Like, I think last year when the magpie would swoop in and start pecking away and me screaming and fluttering, like it would probably only go me 1 or 2 or 3 times. But now, because it's not getting a reaction, it's doubling down on its efforts to kind of attack me. So it goes for 38 seconds, this video. So feel free to stop it at any point you want. So just for people at home, if you don't have Instagram, if you're like Will, you're off social media, this is the video they put on Instagram, which is just a reverse camera shot of me on my bike cycling along the road, and you're about to see some magpie action. Why isn't that playing? Why is that not playing? Oh, okay, there we go. All right, here we go. Start that again. No.
There's some real quality TOFOP stuff here. Charlie's had this video up to share for the entire time he was doing that introduction. Like, so I've been staring at, it's fair to say, when Michael Jordan stuck his tongue out when he was about to do something very spectacular on the basketball court, I've been staring at a version of that, but it's shot from underneath Charlie's chin.
Yeah.
And Charlie's got his tongue poking out.
Yeah, very Jordan-esque.
And he's wearing a basketball helmet as well, which kind of takes away some of the...
Basketball helmet? What are you talking about?
Sorry, a bike helmet, which takes away some of the... Like, Michael Jordan, when he was floating through the air, tongue out on his way to dunk, if he'd had a helmet on at the same time, I don't think it would have looked quite as imposing and spectacular. So I've been staring at that image of you, waiting for this payoff when you were about to play it, and then you just clicked on it 5 times in a row.
Okay, let's try it again.
Nothing happened. So let's try it again.
It's not working. Mother fudger! This is the magpie, Will.
Closing time. One last call for alcohol. So finish your whiskey or beer. Closing time. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. I know who I want to take me home. I know who I want.
Hang on. All right. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to scroll through manually because the play button's not working for whatever reason, and you'll get an idea of what's going on.
So you're just going to scroll through.
Okay. So you can see the magpie up there?
Yeah. Oh, this is even better, actually. This is actually probably better.
See?
Stop it. Okay,
It comes down again.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there he is.
And then it goes back. Yeah.
Yep. Comes down again. That almost gets me there. You see me flinch there because he goes past my ear. Look at him.
Yeah.
Oh, it goes again there.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Bang.
5.
Now, what you're not hearing is the screeching and the squawking and the sound of the tap, tap, tap every time his beak hits my helmet.
Yeah. Okay.
So then I go to a different angle. So you really get a sense of what I'm dealing with here. This mother flubber is really coming in for the kill. This is how many times do you reckon he's hit my helmet here? 7, 8 times? And we're talking over like a 100-meter stretch.
I mean, it's actually, I'm impressed by the magpie. Like this video is actually quite spectacular. Like, well done. It's beautiful.
It's beautifully shot.
Like,
that was thanks to me. I've got it on cinematic mode on my iPhone.
I mean, honestly, it looks fantastic. You should enter this in a few short, just kind of like, you just need to fuck with it a little bit. The magpie, put some like appropriate music in the background. You know what I've noticed? You said that you were not only like filming this while being attacked by this magpie, but the fact that you were doing it by a road where trucks go by and all these sort of things. We've spoken before that your ultimate nightmare that you were going to be swooped by the magpie and you were going to end up with a video on Brown Cardigan. But here's what I think you're going to be the person who filmed it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to find your phone.
Well, enough people tagged
by your body by the side of the road.
Enough people tagged Brown Cardigan in the comments. The issue that I think that why it will not be good fodder for Brown Cardigan is that I'm not freaking out. They don't want that. They want funny.
No, but I'm saying in the one where you died.
Oh, right.
Like this one.
Right. Okay. You're right. That's perfect. Like you just see the camera like hits the dirt, just see 18 wheels rolling over, and then just like just a terrifying silence. Just a magpie land on the asphalt, come start pecking my head, my lifeless head. But Will, I think part of the reason
that's a big magpie, though.
Yeah, and I think it's the same one. I don't know. I have no evidence for this, but they do remember faces, and like it's exactly the same spot that happened last year. But I don't like. I've reframed it, and I'm like, it's just a thing that happens now. Like I just get pecked by this magpie, and it's actually okay. Like I imagine that the crocodile hunter at some point got bitten by a snake, or bitten by crocodiles or whatever like that, and he's just like, well, this is just a job. Okay, and I know how things end.
Bad example, I think.
Well, he got a pretty good career out of it before he misjudged that one incident.
Yeah, but not a great. Like when you're again, all due respect, rest in peace, Steve, but like when the point you're trying to make is that your philosophy from now on is to just go, this is the price of doing business. Yeah. And then the first example that you go to is someone who died in that circumstance. It's not, do you know what I mean? Like it's not.
I think the theme of this episode, Will, is live fast, die middle-aged. That is where we're getting to. I mean, death by magpie. It would be how many, like obviously you can't continue to do TOFOP, but just say it happens, right? What do you mean? Would you keep going TOFOP? I guess you could do TOFOP Plus without me.
I mean, I don't think that listener would want me to change the branding again.
Right. You're like, I can't. Charlie, I don't know if you heard. Charlie got pushed onto a road by a magpie and hit by an 18-wheeler.
So now we have TOFOP with friends and TOFOP without Charlie.
But would you, like, just say, so you get that somehow the footage ends up in your hands. Like Gemma says to you, Will, you're a good friend of Charlie's. I'm happy for you to do with this footage what you want. I don't want to see it. I know it doesn't need to see it, but I think it's important. It's like that. You've seen what's that bear documentary? Not Grizzly Man. Is it Grizzly Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, where Wim Wenders, like he's sitting down with the girlfriend of the guy who got eaten by the bear, and he listens to the audio of it, and he's like, you know what? You should never listen to that. You should never just burn those tapes. So Gemma's like, well, I can't possibly, but I think you as his trusted friend, and you can have the vision. So you've got the vision of me doing the filming myself, magpie pecks me in the head, I get pushed in front of a truck, hit by the truck, magpie pecks me on the head. What are you doing with that vision? Are you analysing it on the podcast? You get Hamo on or Dave Anthony or someone and you break it down frame by frame?
No, I think
And by the way, I'm all cool with it. I don't think this is disrespectful. I think everything's content, and I would want you to kind of, if it gets us a sponsor, like imagine that. Like
we finally make
that had
money.
to happen for like Nike and McDonald's and Qantas to come on board and start sponsoring the show. Turns out they just need death content.
Firstly, you're involved in this scheme, so it would lose money.
Yeah.
There's no doubt it would cost us money. Whatever, I don't know how yet, but it would absolutely cost us money. But no, if I was going to exploit it, like, okay, here's what happens. We've talked about this already a bunch, right? Including this conversation that we're having right now. So that's what makes this valuable, right? It's if you had just died in that situation, yeah, it's a funny bit of content, well filmed, but like it's not like I can't do that much with it, right? Like then yes, it would just be maybe an episode of like TOFOP, get a few people in to remember you and watch the footage, you know, that's it's bigger than that because this is part of the mythology. This is, if you've never heard of this podcast before and you just saw like a Netflix series about like this guy who like you saw how he died, and then like true crime drama like style, you go back and go, well, hang on, like
days.
Maybe this was like not as simple as just an accident because like he's been talking about this for years. Like, is it the magpie protection people who've done him in? Like, is it the same magpie? Is this malicious?
You get on Joe Rogan's
was
show.
it his own fault?
You get on Joe Rogan's show and you start spreading some conspiracy theories.
I've heard there's different footage, Joe.
Yeah.
I've heard there is like more footage.
You said he rode that route every day. Are you telling me that magpie attacked him every day, rode that, and it never happened? And then this one day, and we don't get to see it from the footage because you can't see how he ends up on the road. I'm saying that there was a second magpie or a second pusher.
Yep. And have you noticed on the back tire of his bike, that's flat? Now, that could be an accident. That could be from the accident. It could be flat from the accident and being knocked over. But did someone let down his tire? Like, I mean, really, I'm talking, I could see this being 3 series.
Oh, wow.
3 series on Netflix, like over as we draw it out, like to find out, you know, who was responsible.
So kind of like Making a Murderer. You get
because we have these like, you know, great reveals where people can find, like that we've spoken about this, including this conversation right now. I mean, I'm going to be the prime suspect based on this
100%.
because I have the most to gain at this point. But then once people hear this, part of the mystery might be, did we actually manifest this because somebody out there has heard this conversation and then tried to murder you and blame it on a magpie?
Okay, how about we do this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I reckon it's that woman who pretended that she had a twin sister. She comes back into it. Like,
beautiful.
The twin.
That's a great plan and payoff.
Yeah.
It's awesome. How about this though, right? So we do those 3 seasons. So and the footage gets deconstructed. There's lots of kind of you know after shows that sort of talk about the revelations you make in each series. Series 4, it's revealed I faked my own death.
Yeah,
like
perfect.
Olivia Newton-John's husband style. Like it was just a way to get out of the listener contract or something like that.
No, it was just a way. Like maybe no. How about this?
There you go.
Harold from Neighbours style.
Oh, I come
you
back.
do get hit in the head by like. Oh no, because we need the body.
Yeah, but I could go missing. Like that can be the mystery. Yes. There's no body. Like my bike is found, my helmet, blood.
The magpie comes over and pecks the phone. So we see the magpie, but all we see is you fall. Well, we think fall. Or were you pushed?
Yeah.
Or did the magpie attack you?
Yeah.
There's not enough footage of that. And your body
is missing.
Is gone.
And there's lots of animals in the area. So you could argue that, maybe it was like, I don't know.
Yeah. Like dragged away by koala.
Or snakes. I was trying to think of there's no dingoes in the area, but there could be some animal. Dogs, it'd be like some feral dogs.
Yeah, there's wild dogs. There's heaps of wild
feral dogs around there. So, So you need enough kind of you need to muddy the waters a bit. So every few weeks they find another, like a shoe, my jacket, something else that is like, he's most likely been dragged into the woods by a pack of wild dogs and eaten.
And so where have you been? You've lost your memory. Where have you been in these 3 years, do you think? Like, because where would you have ended up that if you have no memory?
Okay, so
and you've just like wandered off or been picked up maybe even? Like,
so the dogs,
the
dogs drag me down to a creek, like a riverbed, and they do have a bit of a nibble, but not fatally. And then like I'm dragging the creek, the water carries me away. So I flow south somewhere around central New South Wales. Like I'm thinking, I don't know, like what's that town, like Armadale or something like that, just in the middle of nowhere.
All right. Yep.
And like small towns, like you often get people turn up in small towns who
stranger.
no
Don't ask
history.
too many questions.
Yeah, and so he's saying I've got no memory of who I am. It's
no memory.
All right. So,
but you've got ID on you. Yeah. Maybe. Would you have your ID on you if you were riding your bike?
No ID. I've got zero. I'm
John
Doe.
Okay, great. Well, that works perfectly.
And so I wake up in this riverbed. I turn up at I crawl out of this riverbed where I wash up in Armadale. I go to this farmer's house, knock on the door. They take me in. They assume by the state of me that I'm on the run. And maybe one of the farmers
or drugs,
or on drugs,
the run or on drugs.
They take pity on me.
Two things that in that area, could absolutely be a stranger who comes to your door.
And so they assume maybe they take pity on me. Oh, hang on, sorry.
That'll be them calling now.
Maybe they take pity on me because they assume maybe they've had their own battles with the police or drugs, and so
I mean they may well be themselves on the run from society in some way in that part of the world. So
they offer me a job.
They take you in and they offer you some work.
Pennyworth style. They say we can't pay you, but you get a roof over your head and you get 3 squares. What are the three hots?
You can be our butler. Yeah. Have you seen the TV show Pennyworth?
Okay, yes, it's not a farmer. I end up on the grounds of a palatial mansion. They've made all their money from cattle or something like that.
No, CBD oil. Or
But you know how in
weird business,
the Victorian era, it was kind of considered like it was a status symbol to have like a hobo.
It's true, right? To live on the property.
So they want a hobo butler. And that's
okay.
Me.
So, that's you. You're kind of like, I mean, this is great because you're living out which of the guys from Five was it who was the one who was like the professional party guy for a while that you would invite to the party?
Abs.
So this is a little Abs, right? There's these rich beef farmers or whatever they are from Armadale. They've got a old school beef fortune, and then you've rolled in, and they're keeping you as a bit of a novelty, a pet, as part of. Oh, how about this?
Okay,
they realize they're nefarious, so they realize who you are.
So it's Misery style.
They know who you are. They love that you've forgotten.
Yeah.
Right? So they take you in because they think it's hilarious that they've got they used to love Home and Away, and the fact that they've got this actor from Home and Away who's lost his mind, who is now working as their butler.
I mean, so it's more of a Goldie Hawn and Overboard scenario, right?
I mean, it is now.
Yeah. Okay, so how long am I missing for? They've got to keep me under wraps. They don't let me leave the property. It's like a total.
It's a big property. You've washed up. You've gone down the creek. You've washed up in the middle of nowhere on their property.
I don't know where town is or whatever. And I assume at the start, I'm just grateful for the roof over my head. But then I'm going to start asking questions. So I reckon that's probably about 2 or 3 months into it. I'm probably starting to ask questions, and they're kind of either passively or proactively preventing me from leaving. At some point, I've got to catch on to the fact that I'm a prisoner. And so I've got to make my escape.
How long do you think, if you were recovering from a traumatic incident, you lost your memory, so you have to relearn,
been mauled by wild dogs, dragged out the creek.
So how long do you think between recovery from those things, being employed as a butler, and then going, I need to get into town? How long do you think you would before you were really itchy to work out?
If I have base cognitive function in terms of okay, I don't have a memory, but I understand basically humanity and that people can't keep you against your will, then after I'd say 3 or 4 weeks, I reckon 3 or 4 weeks to just get food in my belly, get the lay of the land. And then after about 3 or 4 weeks, I'd start asking, hey, I must have a family out there. There might be people who are missing me. Can we go to the police station?
But what if I was the person who was keeping you Misery style and you said those things and I said, yep, and we want you to find them too. We've contacted the police. We've given you details. If there's anything you can remember at any stage, please give it to me and I'll pass it on to everybody. I'm happy to go online and search for blah, 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 whatever it might be. Like how long could excuses like that put you off for, do you think?
I'm very bad at giving people the benefit of the doubt. And like, I've been conned a couple of times by con men who just like say something that I want to hear. So I reckon another month of that, of them saying, hey, yeah, look, we've sent your photo to the police. They've done an all points bulletin, blah, blah, blah. I reckon it would have to be more about, when it becomes clear to me that they will not let me leave, like if I ask, can I, see the head of the household driving into town, matriarch or the patriarch, and they won't let me go with them, that's when I start going, I need to get out of here. I need to plan my escape. But if it's one of those kind of sprawling ranches, and I am not an outdoorsy bush tucker kind of guy, like I've got no fucking idea. I don't even know what direction anything is. I'm sort of stuck. Like I don't know that I'd want to take my chances just getting out of there.
You are stuck. And then if these beef barons, this generational beef family that you've landed yourself the butler role with, they, I think, could control or have enough power in a small community that they could take you into town, take you to certain select areas. They might have an arrangement with the local, like supermarket, for example. They might supply beef to the local supermarket, so you could go to the supermarket and there'd be no sense of alarm that there was anything weird or going on. They could
how would it be, right, if they are massive home and away fans and just say like they have a lot of power in this town. It's only a small town.
Yeah.
But there is like a scout hall that has a stage and stuff. Yeah. And the only time I'm allowed to leave the estate is they stage live performances of their favorite episodes of Home and Away. Like they word me up.
So this is this like
Misery?
Or Tom Cruise's character in Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, so they're taking you down to the local hall,
community hall.
Yeah,
where they've set it up like the high school, like Summer Bay High. Yeah. It's like lockers. They've painted like a backdrop with lockers and stuff.
I like to think that they're actually what they've done on their giant property at their mansion is that each of the rooms is set up like a different, so like the diner or like the hall or what, like whatever
their beef fortune on reconstructing Summer Bay in their palatial mansion.
Various sets, and then they invite people around to parties at their house, like local community, big events, and like the entertainment is that you can go in, like an installation basically, where you can go into any of these rooms and you can see you. Like it's like a murder mystery party, but they get to be like Irene or
that's right. Yeah. So they get to live out their fantasies by putting themselves in their favorite episodes of Home and Away.
Yes.
And I guess because I have the muscle memory, they're handing me scripts. I may not have memory of ever being on Home and Away, but I would have the muscle memory that I can learn.
It just comes
lines.
Naturally to you.
It
just feels, You're and just so like, for some reason, it feels easy to do.
Yeah, and I'm probably okay with it at first. I'm like, well, you know what? They've taken me in. This is the least I can do. Like that, it's a bit quirky and a bit weird. And I haven't seen Home and Away since I was a kid. So I don't really know who this Zach Maguire fellow is, but I'm happy to kind of play along. But then there would have to be a point where it's like, are we doing this every week? Like every week, do I have to do? And why are you inviting people to come around and just look at me? Like that's what they start doing, like abs. They just invite their other rich friends over to just kind of like treat me like a pet. It's like, look at him. Look, he's got his chambray shirt rolled up to the elbows, just like Zach Maguire used to do from 2012 to 2016.
Okay, let's like thought experiment with the equivalent. So, say. I mean, I guess if like who's the equivalent in profile from like a different era? So like, from like when we were young, if someone stumbled into our world who didn't remember who they were, right?
Like,
but they were recognizable to us.
Yeah. It would be like Colette, like Ring My Bell.
Yeah. Okay.
Colette.
Yeah.
She's got the bike pants on and the braces and stuff.
I mean, you know what? What a great butler. Perfect.
Because he can ring the bell.
Ring the bell. And she's fine with that. So
yeah. She told us we could.
Okay, so you've been away for 2 years. You've been kept captive by this family. You finally emerge. You escape. You realize after a while that
someone takes pity on me. Someone who comes to the house to clean or whatever puts me in the back of the laundry truck, smuggles me out. It's a huge story.
Mm-hmm.
Home and Away, actor missing, considered dead, back, and it's an amazing story. They get arrested. The camera crews go in, they see that they've reconstructed the sets of Home and Away inside the house. It's a huge story.
Huge. It would be massive.
Still can't get a sponsor for the show. We have a meeting with a listener. The sales are like, this is amazing. Like, we're glad you're back, Charlie. But the amazing news is we've got like numbers coming out. We'll definitely get a sponsor. Crickets.
Nothing. Zero. Even less. You're actually like we've just had to randomly send money to sponsors.
Yeah, MailChimp
on your behalf.
MailChimp just tore up the contract. ZipRecruiter. Let's get to the mailbag and then we'll get out of here. This is from a little while back because obviously we took that little break. Yep. It's from Colin. He says, "Hey gents, I'm Colin, working on my PhD in philosophy here in Canada." And Colin has 2 L's in his name. Have you ever come across a double L'd Colin?
Colin.
Well, how's the difference in the pronunciation? Because it's a harder L.
Colin, I don't know.
Colin.
I don't know why there would be a double L in Colin. Is it short for something different?
Colander. Yeah, it's lettuce colander.
I mean, there's the Collins Online Dictionary, which...
Okay. Or maybe he was named after a relative who had Collins for a surname.
I mean, maybe it was one of those things where they were like, we were going to get a baby name book, but you know what? We just grabbed the dictionary and it was right there on the front, Colin.
Easy.
We thought that'll do.
I was just listening to episode 287, that's a while back now, where Will talks about the last time he played Aussie rules football where his leg was broken and he was berated by his coach. Can you just give me a reminder of what that story is?
So it's funny. It's so funny that comes up because a week ago I took my dad to do his episode of the Howie Games. We got him for his 80th birthday, an episode, like an interview with Howie for the Howie Games.
Oh, that's so good.
Not for the Howie Games, but for us and, in the style of and in the studio. And the listener team down in Melbourne did a really great job, videoed it all and, recorded it. And anyway, it was really brilliant. But this very story came up when the family were all together and so the last time that I played football, I went down to watch my brother play football for Hayfield. And I wasn't playing footy at the time, but I was still registered at Hayfield and they were short in the seconds. And so I decided I would have a kick. I was waiting for my brother anyway. And a guy that I went to high school with, Brett Alexander, whose nickname was Cruelly Fats Alexander when he was at high school, but he was a bigger fella. And he fell across my leg and it broke. I didn't know it was broken at the time. My coach didn't know it was broken at the time and berated me for being soft and have lost it all. And and honestly, it was real mean. Made me stay on. I was and
because you were limping around.
Yeah, and my mum even made me jog. I'd forgotten this, but she told me this the other day. Because I wanted to drive back to Melbourne that night because I was going to a party and there was a girl there that I liked, and so I wanted to drive back. And my mum said, "Well, if you want to drive back to Melbourne, you've got to convince me that your leg's okay. So you've got to jog 2 laps of the oval."
Oh my
and
God.
So my mum made me jog 2 laps of I broke my leg. I got berated for breaking my leg. My mum made me jog 2 laps of the oval, and then I drove back to Melbourne with a broken leg, could not get out of the car, could not walk, so I had to drive myself to the hospital and I had a broken leg.
Well, I guess because your dad had a heart attack, right? Famously had a heart attack and didn't realise it. So that, you are a bit soft when it comes to Andersons. You are soft. Colin continues, "This reminded me of the last time I played backyard American football in which my brother fell on top of me, driving his knee into my collarbone and instantly snapping it. I was 14 or 15 at the time, and much like Wil's coach, my father berated me for being too soft for football and proceeded to get the rest of my family to jeer at me instead of taking me to the hospital. He, a healthcare professional, came to check my shoulder and assured me that I was just fine. It wasn't until 24 hours later that my mom took me to the hospital, and after a painfully long ER visit, it was confirmed that my collarbone was indeed broken to such an extent that it was protruding from my skin. Anyway, after that, I applied and got into a specialized arts high school and never played football again. Thank you for the laughs. I have also broken my collarbone at the same age, Colin, when I was about 13 or 14 playing football. It's fucking so painful when you break your collarbone because you've got that entire weight of your arm and shoulder dragging the bone down. My collarbone, in fact, I don't know if you can see, it's that one. It's actually a bit thicker than that one because it regrows. The broken bone grows thicker than what it was. This next bit of correspondence is from Morgan, who needs hyphenation advice. Evening, gents. I'm writing to you today because I need help. See, my name is Morgan. And my fiance's name is also Morgan. We get married in August, and we haven't decided if one of us is going to hyphenate our last name or not. My thinking is that hyphenating will possibly save us from confusion in the future on legal documents and the like. What's your opinion? To add to the confusion, we both have last names that are frequently misspelled. That's sucks for you. Yes, definitely hyphenate. When Iona was born, we decided we were going to give her both our surnames, but we didn't hyphenate. So she's Iona Lee Clausen, but it's very confusing because people assume that Lee is her middle name because it's Iona Lee Clausen. And so in retrospect, I would have hyphenated. So I would definitely hyphenate.
I think it's fun to hyphenate names. I wish there was more of it. I wish that tradition had been like, it would really be great if you met someone now and they were just like, yeah, nice to meet you. My name's William Anderson Patterson Dennison, Greg, blah, blah, blah. And you had to like.
Greg. Like you've got this William Anderson Patterson Greg.
There was a Greg in the family. A Greg. One of the Gregs married in. You're not in charge of them all being the same. Sometimes there's going to be a random
Greg. The Greg at the end. It's really underwhelming. After Anderson Patterson Greg, you can put it in the middle. Anderson Greg Patterson works, but not Anderson Patterson Greg.
Well, I don't know. Like, I think if I was going to go to an accountancy firm and they were Anderson, Patterson, and Greg, I'd be like, yeah, okay. You know that on the first day you're going to talk to Greg, and then eventually you might be able to work your way up to Anderson or Patterson.
I think, too, that, like, in the end, you'll just be whatever you're called. Like, I understand for your legal purposes and for the lack of confusion, you've both called Morgan with frequently misspelled surnames. So I would hyphenate, but in the end,
I reckon hyphenate your first names.
Morgan.
Change your name to Morgan.
It's like a Swedish person saying good morning.
Morgan. And good morning to you. No, that's my name. Morgan.
Speaking of Swedes, we should plug the last episode of The Biggest Stories in all of Norway. Well, close enough. In fact, the Norwegians hate the Swedes. In fact, it's probably a terrible comparison.
That we've just gone from Morgan to Swedes to, anyway, Norway. That's so bad.
If you haven't had a chance to listen to it, there's 4 episodes. It has been a runaway smash hit. People love The Biggest Stories in all of Norway. Elias is done. Yeah, Elias is a hilarious personality. He's exactly what you'd think from the letters he's written in, and just has a glut of amazing stories.
Great story himself, even just how he got involved in the podcast and, his worldview and what his life is like in general. But then, yes, his extended family and their various adventures, and the way that he tells them all is absolutely delightful. It was very fun to do.
Philosophy's back. Melanie Bracewell episode is up. There is a new one coming out next week, which I think
and Joel Creasy was a week before. We've got a whole bunch in the bank, and we've still got recording some cool ones coming up. So philosophy right through till the end of the year, I would say.
And 2 Guys, 1 Cup. We're getting towards a finals time, which is great because we're exhausted. The dogs may still make it. We don't know yet. By the time you hear this, we'll know.
Hope not.
Will just wants to be put out of his misery.
Just put me out of my misery. Let me just say goodbye to this season.
That is, of course, exclusive to the Listener app. We'll be back again next week. But for now, I'm Charlie Clausen.
No, I'm Wil Anderson.